Shalom, shalom. I want to give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the Heavenly Father, and Yahweh Shai is the Son of the living power, the Messiah, which these are the true names of the Most High and His only begotten Son in the ancient Hebrew tongue, and Lashon Kodash, which means holy language. Also want to give double honor to the elder apostles, to the elder bishops, to the upcoming elders that rule well at GMS. I want to give peace and blessings unto the elect, to the house of David, and salute Shalom to the fellow laborers pushing his truth, wherein Lord willing this lesson is edifying, which my name is Zakaria. But ultimately, the lesson, the focus of this lesson is ultimately concerned on how there be they that suffer for evil, and there be they that suffer for good, right? But they that suffer for evil, they're ultimately going to receive more evil at the end of the day, right? And they that suffer for good, maintaining good works, walking the steps of faith and suffering while doing it, all that is going to lead at the end of the day is going to lead to life, salvation. So it is better for you to suffer for good, suffer and maintain good works and suffer, than for you to suffer for doing evil, and receive evil at the end of the day, receive destruction, damnation, judgment, misery, obviously, self-explanatory. We can see which is more productive, which is more which is the better result, if you will. Suffering for good, that's the the better result. That's the better fruit, if you will. In fact, actually thinking about the scripture, I got some scriptures prepared, so Lord willing this lesson's edifying. I was meditating on this last night, because ultimately, before I bring out scriptures, if you look at Jake, if you look at so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, we are under the curses. The curses mentioned in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, where we are under, what shall I say? In other words, we're drinking the cup of the fury of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Right? In fact, to prove that, let's get the book of Isaiah, chapter 51. Isaiah, chapter 51, verse 17. It says, "Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem," which Jerusalem is a people before a place, which are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians. In fact, just to bring out the 12 sign chart, I have it right here. Just for quick edification, my own 12 sign chart I made, right? But which this is all biblical. This is prophetic. The Lord put the spirit on the prophets, in this age, to create, if you will, and to display, if you will, the 12 sign chart, which is a simple identifier, if you will, an easy identifier for the 12 tribes of Israel, right? But the main identifier is ultimately this word, because this word will reveal the heart of many, will expose many. Those who receive this word and obey it, they're really estimated to be of that number, because only the elect will play that role, if you will, of the flock that heareth and followeth, right? But the rest who hear this word and may hear it for a while, or hear it and may reject it, but don't endure the doctrine, then they have been identified of being, the called but not of the elect. So, ultimately, the main revealer of the heart, the main revealer is this truth. Identify it. But the Lord put the spirit on the prophets. The Lord put the spirit on Ezekiel, to write certain things down, particularly in the book of, I think, Ezekiel chapter 37 or chapter 36, concerning this chart, this stick, if you will, which is simple identify, if you will. But just to go through it, the tribe of Judah are the so-called African Americans, but you have Judites all over the earth, all over the globe, you know. You got Judites, which are the original Jews, scattered amongst the nations in Europe. A lot of them are in Africa, a lot of them in Europe, a lot of them are in Asia, a lot of them are in the Americas, the tribe of Benjamin today will be known as the Jamaicans, the West Indies, Indian. The tribe of Levi are the Haitians. The tribe of Ephraim are the Puerto Ricans. The tribe of Manasseh are the Cubans. The tribe of Simon are the Dominicans. The tribe of Zebulon are, the Guatemala to Panama people, right? Back then they were known as the Mayans. The tribe of Gad are the Native Indians. The tribe of Reuben are the Seminole Indians. The tribe of Asher are the people, from Colombia to Uruguay, the Incas, if you will. The tribe of Issachar are the Mexicans. The tribe of Naphtali are the people, in Argentina and Chile. But again, you got heathens scattered amongst the nations. You got Israelites scattered amongst the nations. And mingled amongst the nations. Just for FYI. And you may be from these different places, right? Doesn't mean you're an Israelite. But that's where a lot of the Israelites are scattered, in those different regions, stuff like that I just mentioned, Right, but Jerusalem and Israel are identified today, and they're being identified by the prophets, ultimately by the spirit of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by the word, the people that was a no people, are a people, we had these different bywords, call ourselves Africans or African Americans, Black American, Afro American, Hispanic, Spics, wetbacks, which we ain't call ourselves that, but those different bywords that was put on us, etc., but we are from, or descendants, we are the children of Israel, just put it like that, So let's jump straight back in it. Verse 17, Isaiah chapter 51, verse 17. Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of Yahweh the cup of his fury. So ultimately, because of our wickedness, because of our iniquity, because of our idolatry, because of our abominations, because we have did evil in the sight of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai before the heathen, he ultimately poured out his fury upon us, and brought the curses over us. Curses mentioned in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. We went into slavery, we went into captivity, both the Latin, Native Indian, tribes, and the Negroid tribes as well went to captivity, suffered by the hands of our enemies. A lot of atrocities we went through, a lot of evils, a lot of calamities, a lot of bloodshed in our history leading up to this point. But even today, we're still suffering because of the fury of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. We still drinking of that cup. you know. And when you look at Jake, life, whether it, be the man or woman, right? Jake is in a dark, ignorant, degenerate, and helpless, unproductive, uh, uh, life. Our food is being poisoned. You know, we are, always complaining because our circumstances. We're symbolically in a dunghill as a people, especially here in America. And it's ultimately all because of our wickedness. Jake is killing each other. You got gang violence. Threats on all sides. Threats come from, you know, threats which come from your woman, you know, threats which come from your own neighbor, gun violence, just suffering, in his lifetime, in his age, just suffering, you know, um, death, which America is the shadow of death, it's all because of evil, the Lord not going to bring suffering or evil to a people that do not deserve it, and ultimately the Lord know us amongst all the children on the earth. The Lord know us personally, and that's why we're suffering because of our iniquities. Jake, living, day to day, seeking pleasure, seeking external pleasure because of suffering, just a dunghill, a shitty life, if you will, and which ultimately comes because of our actions, and we can see that whether, us personally, we can see that whether it be looking at someone close to us, or, looking at our neighborhood, our communities, we know personally, and all that at the end of the day is just going to lead to death, and if there's anything that define what the word misery then it's the life and the experiences of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, man. Jake life, and Jake is short for Jacob, Israel. Jake life is the definition of what misery life is, or what of misery, miserable, and it's going to lead to more misery, such as what? Judgment, Jacob troubles, the great tribulation, the second death, the lake of fire, which is ultimately a just reward, a just recompense because of wickedness. You do dirt, you're going to get dirt. It's not for no reason. And if you were born in an evil circumstance, and an evil estate, don't be with that person, oh, I was born in this. No, the Lord judging you because of you, what you did in your past life as well. We also gotta take that into consideration as well. Because the Lord judgment will follow you through your generations, through your incarnations. And that's a terrible, that's a scary thing to understand, right? But you brothers and sisters that's in this truth, that's fighting the fight of faith, that's believing in Yahweh Shai, doing everything that you need to do, and observing everything that you need to observe in order to obtain life. You're suffering now. We're not exempt from that, and not only that, but there's even more, to some degree, in some circumstances, there's even more suffering added on to you believers to some degree. And I'm not going to say, y'all brother's life, your sister's life. Those of you who believe, I'm not going to say, that your suffering is more than the unbeliever. I'm not going to say that. I cannot personally say that. But coming into this thing, you're going to suffer more, and every brother will tell you that, you're going to suffer more, and ultimately at the end of the day, the results for you, for the believers that's suffering, that maintain good works, that's living, maintain, and suffering, for good, the results is better than he that suffered for evil, and that's something that we ought to have to take into consideration. In fact, to start this lesson off, let's get 2nd Esdras chapter 7, verse 18. Let's get verse 17. Then answered I and said, 2nd Esdras chapter 7, verse 17. Then answered I and said, O Lord, that bearest rule, thou hast ordained in thy law that the righteous should inherit these things, but that the ungodly should perish. Right? And that's ultimately the reality, with our case, if you will. You're ungodly, you're gonna perish. But if you're righteous, you're gonna live. You're gonna inherit the promises. And there's no way around that. There's no middle line. There's no gray area. Verse 18 says, nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things. So the righteous is going to suffer. If you came into this thing thinking that everything's going to be fine and dandy, smooth like butter, it's not going to, then you were sore mistaken. And at the end of the day, that's just part of it, Scripture speaks about this roll being your mouth sweet as honey. But when it goes to the belly, symbolically speaking, when it goes to the belly, it's gonna become bitter. Your stomach gonna become bitter. And that's ultimately the experiences in his faith, in his truth. You receive this word and you received it with joy. But suffering, but bitterness comes with it. And some fall out of the truth, some fall under pressure, some are offended, whether by different things, different because there's different variables, but and some are offended, some don't endure. But you brothers and sisters that's enduring, even through the suffering, through the hardship, continue, because ultimately the fruit of it is going to endure for all eternity. Everlasting life, immortality, in an everlasting kingdom and rulership, having part in the first resurrection. Let's finish this verse 18. Nevertheless, the righteous shall suffer straight things and hope for the wide. So the elect today, right, the elect in any age are ultimately suffering, have suffered, and are hoping. And that's something that the unbeliever don't have. Faith, hope, but we do, if you don't, then you may not be of the elect. It says, and I'm not saying any form of hope, I'm talking about hope in Yahawashi, hope in his truth, the lively hope, scriptural hope that's mentioned in the scriptures, that type of hope, not any other form of hope that people got. It says, for they that have done wickedly have suffered the straight thing. So, whether you be righteous or wicked, you're going to suffer. Now it depends on what life or what path you're in, whether you be in a path of life or in a path of wickedness, you know, there's differences in suffering, but no matter, you gonna suffer no matter what. It says, and yet shall not see the wise. So you righteous, and you gonna hope for the wise. You know, you have hope, but you wicked, you gonna suffer as well. You know, and you're not gonna receive the wide. You know what? The kingdom promises. You know, so whether you be righteous or wicked, you gonna suffer regardless. You know. From there, I want to go to the book of Sirach real quick. Bear with me. Not Sirach, but 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 12. It says, Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you. So basically, the apostle Peter, he's basically saying that it's not uncommon. Or in other words, he basically saying, don't think it to be uncommon of the suffering that you're going through. That's ultimately trying you and proving you. You know, when you go into that word strange, you know, so, and that's ignorance, because when you brothers and sisters came into this thing, you may have been ignorant of certain things. You're a babe, you know. Or some of you brothers wasn't, you know, but something you're gonna be as you stay in this thing, something you're gonna learn is that this is part of it. This is part of the walk, if you will, part of the course, part of the condition, suffering. You know. Now, when you go into that word strange, meaning what? To be shocked. So don't, or to be surprised or astonished by the strangeness and novelty of a thing. So it's not uncommon. You know, it's very common to suffer for good. You know, and this is one of the reasons why some are offended and fall out of the truth because of this. Right? When you go into that word strange in the dictionary, it means what? Unusual, surprising in a way that is unsettling or hard to understand. You know, because some come into this thing thinking it's going to be fine and dandy. It's not. You know? And if that's your mentality, that's your heart, then get rid of it. If you're not prepared to suffer for you know, while maintaining good works and suffer for maintaining good works, then leave, get out, you know, depart from it all together, man, because it's not for you. You know, it's not for you, man. You know, because all the men of old, all the righteous men back then suffered some form, some way. Hebrews chapter 11, man. The last portion of that chapter show you how the men suffered. Some saints were sawn in half. Their bodies cut, man. Mutilated. Some dwelt in caves in harsh conditions. Some did not have the best apparel. They wore rough apparel. Some were destitute. Some were alone, dwelling in solitary or solidarity. I think it's solitary or solidarity. Basically in solitude, alone, man. You know? So if it's your heart, if it's in your mind, thinking that you are going to be in this thing and not suffer, then you're ignorant. You're a fool. And just put it as it is. You're a fool. Right? But I don't believe you believe are. You know? Now, if you're are not, if you're just learning this, if you're did have that mentality, repent from it. You know? Because suffering is part of it, trial. You know? It says, beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, suffering, testing, proving, hardship, etc., which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. So whatever you're going through, whether it be personal or in the ministry, whatever you're going through, it's not strange. It's not uncommon. It's not unusual. It's not a new thing. It's a common thing. The Lord's doing it for you, man. To test you, to try you, man. To see whether you're genuine or not. Which he know it because he's omniscient. And he's omnipotent. He chooses who's going to be saved or not. But at the end of the day, this is part of the course, man. You know? So ain't nothing strange happening to you. You know, and ain't nothing strange happening to the wicked man, to the ungodly, to the unbeliever. Whatever misery or hardship or suffering they going through, that's not strange either, man. You know? It says, but rejoice in as much as ye are partakers of Mashiach Yahushai's suffering. So we're partaking in Yahushai's suffering, man. Right? We're continuing in the doctrine, in the word, right? Being disciples, and we're suffering for it. You know? And, you know? So we're participating in his suffering because ultimately, Yahushai's suffering, Yahushai is ultimately the captain of our salvation. He's the author and finisher. In fact, let's get that. Let's hold this and get that real quick. You know? Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. It says, wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight, you know, every sin, right? Everything that hold us back. It says, and that sin and the sin which doeth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Run with patience, meaning what? With endurance, with perseverance. What patience? Let me say this. Do patience exist without suffering? No, suffering is what manifests patience. You know, suffering is what display patience, or which is what produce patience. You know, let me ask you this. You know, give you an example. You know, well, you know, Salaki, I had one in my mind, but let me see. You know, that's good, right? Without light, how are you going to see your shadow? You know, that's the best example I could get, right? If it wasn't for light or the sun or any form of illumination, then your shadow would not exist. You know, not in man's mind and not in your mind. But it's through that light, through that illumination, do your shadow exist. You would have never known your shadow existed if it wasn't for the light. So let's say in this case, the light is the suffering, and the shadow is your patience. You know, that's the best example I could give. You know? You know? Verse 2, it says, looking onto Yahushai, the author and finisher of our faith. So Yahushai is the author and finisher of our faith. Now, when you go into that word author, it means what? one that takes the lead in anything and thus affords an example, a predecessor in a matter, a pioneer. Yeah, because Yahweh Shai, through suffering, through obedience and suffering, he initiated our faith. You know, what Yahweh Shai went through, the contradiction, the bloodshed, the suffering, the persecution that he went through, that's what initiated our faith. Right? And he serves as an example, you know, of what we have to go through that followeth after, if you will. You know? If Yahweh Shai, you know, didn't do what he do, then our faith, you know, wouldn't exist, you know, and we wouldn't been justified, you know. It says, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, you know, and the joy that was set before him, you know. Yahweh Shai knew the results of what he would do. I mean, Yahweh Shai knew the fruit and the results and the outcome of his mission, if you will, of his business, of his work. You know, he knew it. I'm sure he was meditating on it. I'm sure he imagined it. You know, just like how we meditate, think about, ponder the glory that's lie ahead of us, the salvation, the paradise, the promises that lie ahead of us. You know, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, yet endured suffering, right? But the cross was not only a symbol of suffering, of persecution, of hardship, but suffering and persecution and hardship through obedience, or by service, if you will, service unto God. You know, so we maintain, right? It's something I always think about when I think about those people in California, you know, in Cali, in LA, right? Some they say, I don't think it's I'm sure it's, you know, said, you know, in a lot of other places, but I really hear it from people that live in that area, if you will. Right? They be like, live and maintain. Live and maintain. You know, living and maintaining, you know. In this case, we maintain and suffer. We maintain and suffer unto the end. You know. That's just point blank period. There's no other way. If you want salvation, maintain good works and suffer. You know, maintain good works and suffer. You know, it says, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High. You know, so let's go back. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 13. It says, but rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Yahweh Shai's suffering, that when his glory shall be revealed. So when Yahweh Shai's glory be revealed, meaning when he come back with the thousands of heaven, he come in that celestial form, in that celestial fashion, with glory and great power, you know. Yea, it says, yea, may be glad also with exceeding joy. Why? Because ultimately you're going to receive your reward as well. You know, and you're going to see his results, his fruits, you know, for what he did, and you're going to receive your fruits as well. You know, it says, if ye be reproached for the name of Yahweh Shai, if you be reproached, if you be insulted, if you be lowly esteemed by other men, happy are ye. It says, if ye be reproached for the name of Yahweh Shai, happy are ye. Yeah, we're always going to stand behind the name. We're always going to confess the name. We're always going to say the name. We're always going to push the name. You know, ain't no believer in the Son of God without the name. The name is part of it. You know, it's big. It's a huge part of it. Happy are ye, for the Spirit of glory and of God resteth upon you. So the Spirit of glory, man, is resting upon you. And of God resteth upon you. There's glory, man. And it's not no glory that man can give, that any king of the earth can give, that any president or world leader can give. But Yahweh, the most powerful being, will give you in the name of his Son, man. It says, on their part, he is evil spoken of. So the world, they're going to speak evil of Yahweh Shai. They're going to speak evil of the name. They're going to speak evil of the word, of the truth. You know? But on your part, he is glorified. You know? So let's read the other translation on that. NLT translation says, so be happy when you are insulted for being a Christian, for then the glorious Spirit of God rests upon you. You know? You know, so the Spirit resteth upon you. The Spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai resteth upon you. You know? Which ultimately going to lead you to glory at the end of the day. You know? It says, on their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. But let none of you suffer as a murderer or as a thief, because you're going to suffer, you know. And even those that be rich, even those that may be on the top of the earth, they suffer. But you know, that's a lesson. A lesson I want to also make is concerning, you know, the wicked may be living good, and the righteous may be suffering. That's a lesson I want to make as well. But even they that may be living good, they still suffering. The only ones that may not be suffering as much as you wicked jakes is E. You know? As we can see, when it comes to the wicked of Israel, they're suffering, even though they may be rich or have a name in this world. You know? It says, but they may have it better than you righteous believers, just men, than you who held the faith, man, dearly, man. It says, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other man's matters. You know, so don't suffer for being a wicked man. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf. So you really should be glorifying Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai that you suffer. Because if you be living good, then you may be a bastard. You may not be of the elect. You know? So don't be ashamed of the suffering. Right? Don't be confounded, disfigured, disgraced. You should be grateful that you're going through what you're going through. You know? Suffering for maintaining good. And whether it be personal or in the ministry, you know? Because those, you know, because even in this thing, in this truth, there's suffering is coming to your personal life as well. You know? It says, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of God? So judgment is going to begin at the house of the Most High. You know? And if it begin with us, what's going to be the end of them that obey not the gospel of the Most High? So, you know, if suffering and judgment is coming to us, how much worse is it going to be for them that don't even believe, that's wicked, that don't even call upon Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai? And the scripture speaks about when we are judged, you know, we are chastened of God. that we may not be condemned with the world, you know. But the world, they're gonna be they're suffering straight things as well, but they're also gonna be condemned, you know. It says, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? So if the righteous, if you men, you sisters that's in this thing that believe, that endure, if you're of that number, if you're righteous, if it's going to be, if you're in a difficult spot, a tough situation, to the point where you're going to be scarcely saved, imagine the spot that the ungodly and the sinner is going to be in, you know, that they are in now, and that they're going to be in, you know. It says, wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of God. So we're suffering according to the will of God. It's ultimately in the will. It's all the hand, you know. It's the Lord. Hey, the Lord really designed what every brother or sister go through, if you will, you know. It says, wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of the Most High commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing as unto a faithful creator. So commit the keeping of your soul to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua in well-doing. So maintain good works, maintain your life, you know. Let's go to the book of Sirach, because at the end of the day, you know, human life, you know, especially Israel life, no matter what tribe you in, no matter where you are, it's regardless, no matter how you see, it's gonna be suffering. But better is the suffering for good, according to the will of God, that leads us to life, than suffering as an unbeliever or wicked man. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 40, verse 1. It says, great travail is created for every man. So every man is going through his travail. And an heavy yoke is upon the sons of Adam, which is ultimately this flesh. It says, from the day that they go out of their mother's womb to the day that they return to the mother of all things. So from you leave the womb till death, till you go back to the earth, you know, the grave. It's just suffering, you know, in that short time, because we're mortal, right? The best age you can really make it to is 70, you know, just suffering, you know, between birth and death, you know, and some suffer more than others, and some receive pleasure and receive benefits more than others. At the end of the day, what matters is the outcome that you're going to receive, the recompense that you're going to receive. Verse 2, it says, their imagination of things to come. Now, when you go into this chapter, it's really just showing you the experiences of human life in general, you know. And this is some of the scriptures that put a lot of things in perspective. It says their imagination of things to come. Yet, as a man, as a mortal man, every man experiences fear, right? Fear of death, fear of what's to come. That's everybody, you know. It says, and the day of death, right? So we think about the day of death. That's everybody. No matter who you are, no matter what pedigree you're of, that's everybody, you know. Trouble their thoughts and cause the fear of heart. So that's just human experience, fear of heart. So everybody's going to suffer, but not everybody's going to have the same result. That's what the point. But I want to continue reading. It says, from him that sitteth on the throne of glory, unto him that is humbled in earth and ashes. So from the rich and powerful and great to him that is poor and low and common, everybody's going to suffer, you know. From him that weareth purple and a crown, unto him that is clothed with a linen frock. You know? Meaning what? You living lavish or you living harsh. Everybody's gonna go through what they go through, if you will, in human experience, if you will. It says wrath and envy, trouble, right? So everyone is going to suffer wrath in some form, or envy in some form, you know. And everyone have their own experiences or on this earth, you know. It says trouble and unquietness. Everybody's going to experience trouble. Everybody's going to experience unquietness, fear of death. Already covered that. And anger. Everybody's going to feel anger for different things because of different things. That's just reality. That's just part of experience on life, on this earth, on this rock, on this planet. And strife. And in the time of rest upon his bed, his night sleep do change his knowledge. A little or nothing is his rest. Everyone loses sleep. You're not the only brother losing sleep. Everyone loses sleep, to the king, to the common folk, you know. And afterward is in his sleep, as in a day of keeping watch, troubled in the vision of his heart, as if he were escaped out of a battle. Now, what that's concerning, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's concerning nightmares. Everyone is experiencing nightmares, man. You know, it's just telling you that suffering just part of, you know, the experiences, you know, no matter who you are, right? But I'm gonna get to the point. When all is safe, he awaketh and marveleth that the fear was nothing. So basically, fear, anxiety, stress, just part of it, you know. Such things happen unto all flesh, both man and beast, so even animals, you know. And that is the point. And that is sevenfold more upon sinners, you know. And really, the law was given to us, to Israel, you know. So, you know, this really concerning the Israelite man, woman, you know. Death and bloodshed, strife and sword, calamities, famine, tribulation, and the scourge. So this is something that sinners go through, you know. And what I just read, you know, up, they suffer more of that sevenfold, you know. It says these things are created for the wicked, and for the six came the flood. It says all things that are of the earth shall turn to the earth again, and that which is of the waters doeth return to the sea. All bribery and injustice shall be blotted out, but true dealing shall endure forever. You know, it says the goods of the unjust shall be dried up like a river. So these now is going into the results of or the outcome or the end goal or the end game of people, you know, of different people, you know, and the differences of end games that they will have. You know, the righteous, they're gonna get paradise. The wicked, they're gonna get judgment. So the goods of the unjust going to be dried up like a river. Esau, even though it may seem, well, it is so that he's comforted. He got his consolations. He living good. He's the rich man in the parable of Lazarus and the rich man. He's the rich man living lavishly. He had his table. He eating good symbolically. This is his world. He's the children of the world, right? But all his goods is going to pass away. You know, it's going to be dried up like a river. It shall vanish with noise, with judgment, with destruction. You know, because no matter what life or what position or what circumstance, what income you got, or what form of suffering you got, the will of the Lord, judgment is going to fall upon all. Now, what matters is whether you're going to receive mercy in the midst of that judgment. You're going to receive deliverance in the midst of that judgment, or you're going to receive just judgment. That what matters. That what we should be fixing our eyes on. Not how the ungodly are going to be destroyed. Now, we do, you know, touch upon that, you know, for prophecy, for edification's sake. But we really should be thinking about on how the righteous will be saved. And what they did to be saved, you know. It says, like a great thunder and rain. Verse 14, while he openeth his hand, he shall rejoice. So shall transgressors come to naught. The children of the ungodly shall not bring forth branches, or many branches. You know? Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's ultimately concerning, results. Results. You got the seed, then it grows, then it branches, which bring forth fruit, you know? So results, I think it's basically what it's going into. The things that you built, whether it be finances, whether it be a house, or the works of your hands, your results, your production, all that's gonna come to the end. It says the children, the children of the ungodly shall not bring forth many branches, or is concerning descendants. Forgive me, I think it's concerning results. But are as unclean roots upon a hard rock. This is the weed growing upon, and I'm gonna hold my tongue, forgive me, I may be mistaken about that certain scripture. But verse 16 says, the weed growing upon every water and bank of a river shall be pulled up before all grass. Bountifulness is as a most fruitful garden, and mercifulness endureth forever. To labor and to be content with that a man have is a sweet life, but he that findeth a treasure is above them both. Right, so it's going to other stuff and stuff like that. Right, but there's another scripture that I want to get. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon. And sometimes you gotta hold your tongue concerning certain scriptures if you don't know it. That's wisdom of itself as well. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 4, verse. Let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. I think it's chapter 3, verse 14. Let's see if I want to read the other ones real quick. All right, let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 11. Verse 10. It says, for whoso despiseth wisdom and nurture, meaning what? Cultivation, learning, being built up in the faith, being, just learning the truth, growing in the truth, the word is going out, but not everybody is taking the opportunity to grow in it, to be nurtured by it. Only the elect is. It says, he is miserable and their hope is vain. Verse 10, Salaki says, but the ungodly shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which have neglected the righteous and forsaken the Lord. Self-explanatory. Verse 11, it says, for whoso despises wisdom and nurture, he is miserable and their hope is vain. What, their confidence, their sources of confidence, all that is vain. It says their labor is unfruitful. Meaning what? And everybody have their labor, everyone have their path in this world, man. But at the end of the day, it's unfruitful. It's vain. None of them is gonna be productive. None of it is leading to life. These religions not leading to life. These different Christian believers, their labor is not leading to life. And I see that constantly. You got a lot of Christians. A lot of people are becoming hardcore Christians. A lot of people, I'm seeing more and more as things get harder, as this world start receiving more evils, because people know it in the back of their mind that shit ready get wicked, to some degree. The world come crashing down to some degree. People know it. The heathen know it. Everybody know it. Not everybody, but people they're grasping or grabbing harder and harder onto their gods, onto their idols, onto their religions. But we know that it's all unfruitful. But we know what is fruitful. Doing the will of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, believing in Yahushua, believing in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, having faith and seeking Him. That's fruitful. If you don't believe that, then you're a fool. You're ignorant. It says, and their works unprofitable. From there, all right, come on, let's get verse 15. It says, for glorious is the fruit of good labors, and the root of wisdom shall never fail. So glorious is the fruit of the result, right? The outcome of good labors, even if it's through suffering, From there, I want to go to let's get the words of Yahushua real quick. Let's go to the book of Matthew, because there's another point I wanted to make. Because there's spirits, there's a certain spirit, certain soul, a certain mentality that I want to rebuke, right now. Lord, when I can get it. Let's get Matthew chapter 13, verse 5. It says, some fell upon stony places, where they had not much earth, and forthwith they sprung up. These are the words of Yahushua. It says, and forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away. So it's a parable. Now this is the explanation of the parable. Verse 20 says, but he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and with joy receiveth it, yet hath he not root in himself, but endureth for a while. So he's not really constant and nurtured in the truth. He's not really he's not really in it. He's not really for it. He's not really disciplining, he's not patient. He don't really hold this to be the most valuable thing in his life, in other words, it says, but endure for a while, for when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. So that seed which fell upon stony places, which had no root, took no root, the sun came up and scorched the seed, and you don't want to be that. You don't want to be that seed, man. Seed representing the word. You got some people who represents the stony places. The word didn't really touch them as it should have. They didn't really receive the word as they should have. So when that sun came out, when that pressure, when tribulation or suffering came, they didn't endure. They may endure for a while, like it said, but in due time they're going to be offended. Offended means really goes into to fall away, to stumble, to fall, to fail, so Don't let that sun, because the sun is going to rise. It's this symbolically, the sun represents suffering, trial, hardship. It's going to rise, man. Persecution, tribulation. It's up. It's up now. And it's going to get even hotter. That fire, man. You know, but endure unto the end. Don't be they that's going to be offended. You know? It says because of the word, by and by he is offended. You know, meaning, you know, also when you go into that word offended, it means to let's go into it. Let's go into the word real quick. You know? So that don't let that sun burn up. You know, your faith, your belief in His truth, man. You know, you know that word that is in you. Don't let it, you know, don't let it take it away. You know, let's get the book of Matthew, chapter 13 again, and get that word offended real quick. You know, but you got spirits, and now when you go into this chapter, that parable, the parable of the sower, it really gives you different categories and different or show you. Yahweh Shai is literally telling you, you know, these different individuals that will come across this word, you know, and their lot. You know, you're gonna have some that's gonna hear this word, receive it with joy, but because of persecution, because of suffering, because of tribulation that rise because of the word, they're gonna be offended and fall away. But you got the other sums that's also mentioned in the parable that's going to receive the word upon good ground. They're going to have the right spirit. You know, they're going to be put in the right spirit, and they're going to be made fruitful. But you also got some who hear the word, but that word was taken away from them because of the devil. And those are the individuals who hold fast to these different belief systems, different philosophies, the different ideals that they were taught and indoctrinated with in this world, you know, and their old beliefs, that the falsehood, deceit that they were in, ultimately, you know, overwhelmed the truth that was sown in their heart. So they don't believe. You know, so you gotta really reject those things. Don't let the devil take those things away from you. You know, but you got, you know, again, you got those who become fruitful when they receive the word. You know, so be that ground, that good ground that received the word, received the seed, and became fruitful. You know, but let's go into that word offended. The word offended is from the Greek word scandalizo.
Strong's G 4624. Scandalizo. Scandalizo.
Right. To cause to fall away. To cause a person to begin to distrust, and desert one whom he ought to trust and obey. To be offended in one. To cause one to judge unfavorably, to make indignant, displease, you know? So don't be that spirit, because you, again, when you go into this parable, Yahweh Shai is telling you about different individuals that will come across this truth and be offended, and be offended because of the tribulation or persecution that arise, you know? So don't come into this thing thinking it's strange that you're going through trial, going through certain things. It's not strange, man. You know, to be indignant, to be displeased, you know. Right? And you good. In Christianity and other religions, they teach about prosperity doctrine. The scriptures, there's nowhere in the scripture that speaks about prospering on this side. Prospering is on the other side when Yahweh Shai come back. You know, and that's another falsehood that we got to reject. Ain't no prosperity doctrine. And these pastors, you know, they be like, pray about, or they be like, or they make it seem like if you continue believing in Jesus, You're gonna have a rich life. You're gonna become rich. That's what these pastors teach, you know. You know, but that's something we reject, and that's also another example of the devil taking away the word that was sown in your heart, thinking that you're supposed to prosper in this thing. That's not true, you know. But let's get another scripture, and I'm gonna close off on that. But you know, this thing is about maintaining good works through suffering, you know, through experience and trial, if you will. You know, let's get the book of Hebrews real quick. Hebrews chapter I think 12. Hebrews chapter 12 verse 11, it says, "Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous." And this whole chapter is good. It says, "Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous." You know, so it's supposed to be grievous. It's supposed to be not joyous. "Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness." So this suffering is supposed to make you better. You know, it's supposed to produce in you a better character. It's supposed to mold you. You know, your suffering, your experiences, and this thing is supposed to mold you, you know, into a better person, right? Experiences means to try out, you know. It says, "Nevertheless, afterward, it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness." So any form, any personal, anything you went through in this thing, if you are a truly sincere believer, then that done already form you into a better spirit, into a better mind, if you will, you know. It says, "Unto them which are exercised thereby." You know, so I think the point is already made. You know, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. I want to give double honors to the elder apostles, to the elder bishops, to the upcoming elders. And in fact, talking about the elder apostles, the elder bishops, the men of the Lord, everyone from to their elders, you know, even their elders suffer on down, man. It's not a strange, uncommon, unusual thing, you know. So it's just, you know, part of it. So better it is to suffer for good than to suffer for evil, you know, because the outcomes of them both are not the same, you know. So don't want to say the elder apostles, elder bishops, to upcoming elders, to the peace and blessings unto the elect, to the house of David, to the 144,000, and salute and shalom to the fellow laborers pushing his truth. And Lord willing, this lesson's edifying. Shalom.